Hey y'all, Uncle Jimmy here. When you speak for yourself, you're forced to think for yourself. And when you think for yourself, the sports world looks different. In order to enjoy this podcast and this show, you need to have the courage to look at the world from alternative points of view and not be offended when you disagree. Speak for yourself isn't your Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram feed. SFY tells you what you need to hear and not what you want to hear. So, welcome aboard, buckle up, and enjoy the ride.
We start with Adam Schefter's report that New Orleans Saints worked out Antonio Brown today. Critics will deem the Saints' interest in the exiled under investigation bad boy receiver as win-at-all-cost desperation. The critics will be wrong. New Orleans' interest in Brown is fueled by entitlement. Sean Payton, Drew Brees, and the city of New Orleans believe the NFL owes them a Super Bowl. In their minds, the no-call pass interference at the end of last year's NFC Championship is one of the great unpunished crimes in American sports history, ranking just below a double homicide in Brentwood 2 decades ago. The Saints want Antonio Brown as their Las Vegas memorabilia robbery. AB is reparations. He's payback for what they were denied a year ago. I don't respect it. I don't like the implications. At the root of New Orleans' sense of entitlement is the belief that the NFL wanted the Los Angeles Rams in the Super Bowl more than the New Orleans Saints, and the referees made sure that happened. Did the refs tell Sean Payton to foolishly throw the ball rather than run it and milk the clock? Did the refs instruct the Saints to blow early game touchdown opportunities deep inside the red zone? Sean Payton blew the NFC Championship. He's refused to take responsibility for how his arrogant coaching in that game cost his team. Payton has the biggest ego in football. He was bothered all last year by the hype being showered on Rams coach Sean McVay. Payton wanted to blow the doors off McVay and the Rams at the NFC Championship. That's why the Rams threw the ball late instead of milking the clock. Payton's ego put New Orleans in position to lose. It's on him. That's why he can't let it go. Payton is the second best coach of his era. In my opinion, he's better than Pete Carroll, who has won 1 Super Bowl and coached in a second. Payton wanted his shot at Bill Belichick in the biggest game in sports. Had the Saints gotten there and won, the reputations and legacies of Payton and Brees would have been significantly enhanced. Brees would be in the conversation as one of the 5 best quarterbacks of all time. In New Orleans, this football season has been about payback and reparations. Key words, in New Orleans. Across America, this NFL season has been about Lamar Jackson and Baltimore. Lamar and the Ravens are standing in the way of what Payton and New Orleans feel they're owed. The Saints are kicking the tires on AB because Payton doesn't truly believe the Saints are good enough to stop Lamar Thriller Jackson without an extra element. Brees and Michael Thomas are enough in the NFC. I believe New Orleans is the best team in its conference. But the Saints need something extra to beat the best team in football, the team led by the most dynamic quarterback we've possibly ever seen. Fear of Lamar is driving the Saints to consider bringing in the toxic and emotionally unstable wide receiver. Entitlement causes the abandonment of integrity more rapidly than desperation. All right, joining the desk now are Fox Sports Radio host Doug Gottlieb and Hall of Famer Eric Dickerson. Marcellus, get us rolling. You respect the Saints for bringing AB in?
Yeah, a lot of respect for him for just stepping in front of the pack, having a coach that takes the gambles with his personnel, takes the gambles on the field. We obviously saw that onside kick coming out of halftime Super Bowl win. And if you look at it right now, this is a team that has equity with its fan base, as you mentioned, for various reasons. One, they do have a Super Bowl title under this regime, and more importantly, they felt they got robbed. So if you have that type of equity with a fan base, you can go out there and make moves like this, like the Patriots did when they made such move. It's just allegations against AB when you talk about what we're really indicting him with. Allegations and self-inflicted craziness from AB. But other than that, I mean,
other than that,
I'm just telling you, look, I've seen a lot worse get signed, and this is a situation where they're bringing them in amongst other receivers doing their due diligence. You don't have to pay him if he does get signed, if he is on a roster, commissioner exemption, obviously a part of that conversation. And the upside is massive. You can retain his rights going forward. You still have a Hall of Fame receiver who was sitting there on the shelf that is there for the picking. So it's a smart move by me.
I agree. I think it's a great.
Respect it.
I mean, look, it's about winning football games. You know, when they win, if they win the Super Bowl, who's gonna say, well, you had AB on the team? I mean, teams have stacked teams before. They've stacked teams before.
Right.
They did in the NBA. Miami Heat did it. I mean, the Lakers tried to do it that year. They didn't win. I mean, so it's happened before. I think when you look at the Saints fans, last year boycotted the Super Bowl because they felt they got cheated. I mean, they're those kind of fans. So they don't care how they get there. They want to get there. Even the year before that, Minnesota, what happened in Minnesota? I'm like, they just make the tackle and you win the game. Yeah. So I feel like, hey, AB can play, and it gives them that much more of a weapon on the other side. Who do you double? So I say no problem.
He's not going to play this year. The guy's a train wreck. You're like, outside of self-inflicted wounds and all these allegations. Other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, how was the show?
The show's been much worse before.
This would be his fourth team in a year.
Yeah.
Fourth, okay? If you can't hack it with the Raiders and then the Patriots, look, if you promise me you'd take social media completely away from him, maybe, right? I mean, last week the rant, no white women in 2020, right?
I'm glad you said it.
Huh?
Yeah, I'm glad you said it.
Well, again, that's why would the Saints want to associate their brand with that? And how would our take be if his tweet was no black women in 2020?
That would be reality. No, I'm just kidding. Keeping it real, brother. Look at here.
No, listen.
Y'all don't know AB?
Listen, it's just not worth it.
Glad you said it.
Look, I know you can say that. I can't. Like, look, every day he was in New England, literally every day, there was another Antonio Brown story.
Yeah.
Every day he was there. It was mind-blowing how many things he had done to people between not paying chefs and personal trainers and accusations of sexual assault and not paying, child support. Like, you go through it, it's like, damn, this guy is a mess. And then he takes to social media and it's unintelligible. And then there's some other response which is clearly put together by somebody else who has a brain and a thought process. This guy he's a great player. He's not going to the Hall of Fame. Okay,
he's not going to the Hall of Fame?
No.
Come on.
No 6 straight seasons?
Come on,
Look,
man.
I think
he had 100-plus catches?
Yes, I thought he would be great. But again, by the time he gets ready for the Hall of Fame, you're going to have a litany of the Andre Johnsons and Julio Joneses and guys that had no issues. And he's gotten run out of Oakland, New England, and likely won't even be signed by this New England thing because there's going to be such pushback from the league.
New Orleans.
New Orleans, sorry.
Yeah, but what can you stick to AB? I understand it is tough to breathe in this smoky room of AB's issues.
Every
tweet,
every Instagram.
Just tweets.
Burning his own feet in the cryo chamber, the suing the league for the helmet, not once, but twice. This all happened this year, dude.
But he ain't killed nobody.
We've had
killers come back and play.
I understand, but that's when
OJ came back. Who are you talking about?
Little.
Manslaughter. Manslaughter. But somebody still died.
Is he still gone?
I agree.
Somebody died.
That's a little different. But it's a little different. It's a little different.
Hold on.
A tweet versus manslaughter?
It's a different era. It's just a different era. And you pointed out, and you're right, he's done this to himself. Yeah. This is not just accusations, allegations. This is going after people, going after the commissioner, going after the wrong people on social media.
Here's what I'll say. And I'm someone who defended the Cowboys signing Greg Hardy. But I think AB is so unrepentant and so unpunished as it relates to his disrespect towards women. And again, there's some accusations out there unproven. But again, when you're comfortable, the hypocrisy of I'm a religious person called God, and you're comfortable with a tweet, an album, no white women, and the video that this dude is putting out, some of this to me is just so much conduct unbecoming of someone. Do you really want to associate the Saints brand with that? And again, I know there's a lot of guys in their personal lives that are chaotic and maybe the same issues, but are they wearing it on their sleeves the way that AB is? Do you really invite that to your organization at this point? And then because again, AB is so chaotic and dysfunctional, he's capable of harming himself. And according to allegations, he's capable of harming others. Why invite that into the New Orleans organization other than you feel so damn entitled and owed a Super Bowl that it just doesn't matter? We're getting one by any means
Well, this
necessary.
may come out in jest, but in all seriousness, he's an equal opportunity, instigator. Like, not just women, as Mike Mayock, as John Gruden, as Robert Kraft. Like, everyone gets it when you're around AB right now. Mike Tomlin, Ben Roethlisberger. So I understand what you're saying. Like, that will be a huge issue in this era to bring in someone who is targeting women. But he's targeting anyone in his company, in his circumference.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at a guy that still, I don't have anything to glue to him.
Yep.
So there's tremendous upside. If we look forward to a week, 2 months later, you are cleared of all allegations. What will you stick to AB to keep him outside the NFL?
I tell you what, I bet you if Robert Kraft called Belichick and say, hey, look, bring AB back in, he'd be like, cool. I bet Tom Brady would say, great, bring him back. For sure, that just goes to show. And look, one thing it's about, like I said, winning Super Bowls. When you think about Super Bowls, Sean Payton has one. He has one Super Bowl. It's about his legacy. If he has 2 or more, you got him as number 2, the second coach of all time.
No, in this era.
Yeah, and I'm saying in this era.
Yeah.
But if he has 2 or 3, it's no doubt because he has every record there is pretty much.
Eric, this is the funny bone between you and I. And I say this in seriousness. I'm about this game has been so good to so many people.
Here we go.
That you need to protect it. You got to protect the shield. And this, to me, this desperation, entitlement by New Orleans, like, we'll do anything. And to me, AB does so many things that are disrespectful to football and football people. He has no respect for the game. I just think until he can conduct himself and show some respect for the game and for the game that's made him rich and famous, until he showed, I really don't want him back in the NFL.
But I'll say this, if he goes to the Super Bowl, let's just hypothetically, he plays for the Saints, and he opens up with an 80-yard touchdown, and he has a 70-yard touchdown, they're going to be saying, boy, that problem AB had, all of it.
Yes, they will.
No, they will not.
They absolutely will. Eric,
Hold up. When you in the city of New Orleans, they don't care nothing. Neither does the media. That's going to be secondary.
Well,
it's going to be.
You're talking about the biggest sporting event in the United States. Okay.
And what is that sporting event all about? What is it all about?
It's all about money.
And winning.
Okay. Money.
Winning cures all. Winning cures all.
And you know what's interesting?
I don't think it cures this.
Well,
I mean, look, you're forgetting when he was with the Raiders. You're forgetting all the accusations.
I get it. I get it.
I want to talk to you guys about, one, you're talking about, like, we have to protect it. Growing up in Los Angeles, we had something called a continuation school, which was it was adjacent to the real high school.
Oh, yeah, sure.
But it was for the guys who got out of juvie, gangbangers, drug dealers. But they still went to school.
Can't get rights.
They couldn't get right at that time, right? But they were on a different schedule, and they had different privileges, but they still were being taught. They still were given opportunities. That's what AB is right now. He's in that continuation school, which is right now, you're on the commissioner exemption. We're still looking at you. We're still respecting you. We're still going to protect your rights through this process. But then you have an opportunity to graduate from the continuation to back to the mainstream high school. AB's in that process. He's a wild card, but he's not the first wild card that will potentially take a team over the hump. I have a full screen of 5 NFC championship teams that lost that game, and then next year, what did they do? They advanced to the Super Bowl. Let's start in 1994 with the 49ers. Deion Sanders shows up. Okay. Cowboys 95. Deion goes again. Now, we got Andre Rison. Now we starting to get to AB territory. Andre Rison. T.O., okay. You said he wasn't a Hall of Famer, AB. He's going to be a Hall of Famer just like T.O. was, maybe third ballot. And then Randy Moss. All these guys, at one time, the media was saying outcasts about
bad guy.
Bad guy. I don't know how great for the locker room they were. Deion on the fringe. But the point is, these are all players that went to the team that lost the year prior, like the Saints. Next year, boom, in the Super Bowl. So that's what you need to see right now.
It's a hell of a point. The only difference I'll say is, to me, and this is just me, it's my issue, Eric disagrees with, all of those guys you just point to, I look at them and go, man, they love the game.
Randy Moss.
When he quit. They talked about Randy so bad. He was a great player.
But he said he quit.
He quit.
We saw evidence of him quitting.
Because he was playing on the Raiders team.
So that matters?
Hold on.
He loved the game.
Wait.
He loved the game.
I don't think
the Raiders.
he didn't disrespect the game to the
Wait,
level.
the last date on that full screen is 2001.
12.
2012. My eyes are bad. I'm getting old,
2012.
Okay.
Yeah.
None of those guys went to social media and said, I don't need football. None of those guys.
But they did worse. Randy jogged on plays.
None of those guys direct messaged media members about a woman who was making accusations.
Oh, T.O. did something. Not to that extent, but T.O. certainly didn't have a good relationship with the media.
None of them sued the league based on a helmet twice. None of them were on four teams in 2 years.
Well, Jerry Jones had issues with the league because of Deion.
It's not one thing. This is death by 1,000
First
cuts
of all,
that he's done to himself.
Football is not a popularity sport. It is about winning. That's what it's all about. You can say it. If you ever been in a locker room,
Eric, I get it.
It's about winning.
I get that it's a win at all costs, and when you win, everybody forgets all of that.
That's it.
I'm telling you right now, the Saints have a chance to win a Super Bowl with or without him. He's likely not to play any. He's likely not to play anyway.
Probably won't, but they have a better chance with him.
And Jason's point is a really good one because Sean Payton's never offered any sort of accountability for even the bounty gate. Right? They told him to stop the bounty gate. They kept the bounty gate.
Everybody did it. Why am I going to step out and say something for everybody else?
Because you were told not to do it, specifically from the commissioner.
Not to as well.
Okay?
I hear you.
And then you continue on with last year. We've all forgotten the fact that the Saints got the ball first in overtime. Like, they've never said, hey, Drew Brees threw an interception.
I said it here.
Okay?
Look, Eric, football is about winning.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But the making of money as a television entity is about the appearance of some level of integrity. Again, people want to believe, whether it's true or not, and we can be as cynical as we want to be about the NFL and football, blah, blah, blah. They want part of the sales job of professional sports is that there's an integrity to the way we go about winning. And yes, we can point to the Patriots and cheating scandals, and we can point to baseball and their steroid scandal, and we can point to X, Y, and Z. But there are some critical issues, and right now for football, its relationship with women and football players' treatment of women is a critical issue for the NFL. And AB thinks it's a joke. It's a joke to him. He's under investigation right now, serious allegations made about him, and he's making a video, no white women, with scantily clad women and throwing money around. He thinks it's a joke. And until he acts like a man and takes some responsibility, they shoun't let this dude back in the NFL.
That's stupid. That's just not smart. He has 3 kids with a white woman. So I mean, come on, that don't even make sense. I mean, a lot of us.
He's playing with an issue that can really damage the league.
It can't damage. Look, the NFL is on an all-time high.
Right, which is why they don't want him around.
Trust me, the NFL is not going anywhere.
I'm just going to tell you this. Billionaires just don't think that way, and they didn't get to become billionaires by thinking that
billionaires ain't going to go.
Well, when they became billionaires, then they take risks.
There you go.
You don't get billion without taking some risks.
You also don't make assumptions like
this not their main
I'm
job.
CNN and I can never be
Hold on,
taken
this is
out.
not their main job. Don't act like this is their DNA. This is the hobby job for them. Guess what? I roll the dice even more on the hobby job. So don't act like they won't do it. Now, as I'm looking at the all-time criminal list of NFL players, it's a lot of Hall of Famers in here. I'm just letting you guys know.
Thank you.
This game was built on people worse than AB.
No, listen, I understand, but this is like when Michael Jordan was in his prime, nobody delved into Michael Jordan's personal life. Right. And then with Tiger Woods, it all changed. Okay, we all suddenly
social media.
We all care. Then you add in social media, and it's not just the accusations; it's the tweets, it's the IGs, it's the video, it's him doing it to himself. Like, look. The NFL, you're right. The NFL is on the uptick. It is on an all-time high. And the last thing they want is a wide receiver who's not on anybody's team running any sort of risk of bringing it down.
And there are certain issues that we all know, just as TV broadcasters, like, oh, no, I'm not going toward that topic. It's too hot. It can
but because we're not in the meritocracy. We're all in the subjective experience with no scoreboard. Our scoreboard is ratings, but ratings are fluctuating
because
of
a TV show.
He's on something that
a TV show.
Whatever you think about my Instagram, 7 catches, 137 yards, 2 touchdowns. Erases all that Instagram for that week.
Putting for the Patriots.
Eric Dickerson is back with us. We're joined now by Fox NFL analyst TJ Houshmandzadeh. Time now for a big story. Let's move to Dallas, where Dak Prescott and the Cowboys will try to keep their season's hopes alive. Dallas can sneak into the playoffs with a win over the Redskins and an Eagles loss to the Giants. At one point, it looked like the Cowboys were going to run away with the division, but despite his big contract demands, Dak hasn't been able to come close or to close out the season, losing 4 or 5 as the offense has sputtered down the stretch. All right, the question is, there's a lot of conversation about Dak's contract. Dallas Morning News says he's destined for a franchise tag. I'm asking the question, though, with Dak, if they don't make the playoffs and lose this week, could he lose any respect inside the Cowboys locker room amongst his teammates?
I don't see how, because it sounds good until you see who's going to be the one that steps up to Dak and say something. Like, what other star on this team can have the gall to walk up to Dak Prescott, who had his best season ever as a pro, and say, "Oh, you tripping"?
But hold for 1 second, though. You can lose respect without saying something to the guy.
Okay, so then you gonna act on it? Because if you Zeke, I'm looking at you like you got that money, and then what had happened to you, bruh? If I'm DeMarcus Lawrence, you got the biggest contract in franchise history. You out here playing like Marcellus Wiley, and I got cut putting up them numbers. He out there getting the most dough ever from the franchise. Amari Cooper, you got something to say? Oh, I don't think so. Not this year, do you? But you got 22 catches and 240 yards in the last 5 games. Like, who's gonna say something? So that's the point. It has to get materialized. You could say I lost respect, but if you don't act on it, don't say anything about it, what can you say to a guy who actually showed you his best for you this year? In the contract year, foot to the fire, Dak Prescott was the MVP of this team.
For me, it's no, they won't lose respect, and I'll go a different way with this. Everybody, number one, wants to win. You'll lose respect for Dak because he hasn't built a personal relationship with you. Like, on the field play, he's played well. He's not even practicing again this week to show you he really wasn't healthy last. If he has not built a personal relationship with guys, and it's not, the biggest thing is you got to build a relationship with the O-line, the D-line, guys on the other side of the ball, and get to know them, have real conversations with them. What happens on the field, as long as I know you giving it your all, you putting that time in, and we have a personal relationship, you've tried to get to know me, and you matter on the team, no respect will be lost. And if guys do lose respect, those guys that have built a relationship with them, they're going to check them.
Edie, before you go, though, I just think we have a misdefinition of he really played well. Really?
When you have your best year individually, they know he had his best year as an individual. It's about numbers in this game. He had his best year. The team did not have a great year.
I don't think he's better than his rookie year. I don't think he's better than his
record.
Expectations were different. You had
he had 4 interceptions his rookie year. He's got 11 this year.
Well, if you want to be picky, you can say, because I always feel like if you're a franchise quarterback, you need to the quarterback needs to win 4 or 5 games, or maybe 6. Really, they got to be on him. Like the quarterback took it over. I mean, this was on him. I mean, Dak didn't do that this year. Even though I still say they're not going. I mean, Dak is a team player. I think the locker room loves him. But if you want to be picky, Dak didn't perform. I think probably like Dak wanted to perform. I mean, and the Cowboys for sure didn't perform like the Cowboys wanted to perform by no means of that. But I'm just saying, being picky.
Okay, let me ask the question a little differently then. I like your choice of word. The locker room loves him. Can you love him a little less after this season?
Well, I mean, if that's the case,
we all been there.
If that's the case, all of them need to go stand in front of a mirror and look at
themselves.
They're
not all quarterbacks.
They can love him a little less because this is what have you done for me lately. They'll look at last week and say, God damn, man, Dak missed all these things.
TJ.
They'll look at that. They'll look at that and say, man, when we needed him the most,
he was hurt.
He missed.
When we needed him the most, he was hurt. But when we needed you the most, Ezekiel, you just was what? Cabo, contract.
The Ezekiel Elliott's of the world, they not going to be the ones because they know.
So who got the credit to step up then?
They ain't.
Anybody that's going to make less than $30 million a year because that's what Dak wants.
But they need status, too. You can't woof with no status.
Nobody. It doesn't matter who it is. The best player, you're not going to verbally say it. You're going to say it when he ain't. You're not just going, bro, you was awful.
You was awful this year.
You're not going to say it to his face. You just going to whisper in your section of your locker room with your locker buddy, bro. That was awful this year.
You know what they say?
You ain't gonna say it.
There is an old adage to move many, whisper to one. So you just sit next to your boy, hey, man.
And it starts to carry.
And then it starts spreading around and move everybody.
It starts to carry.
I hear that, but who on this team? I can't even.
Anybody can whisper.
True. But who are you saying it? Like, I'm looking at you.
The issue is the position and the salary that goes along with it. And this is what I'm trying to get at. Lose respect, loved a little less in terms of there was going into this season, I think, a prevailing sentiment in that locker room. Hey, man, they need to take care of Dak.
I bet they still say
And
that.
I just think I think if they don't make the playoffs, when these guys are around in the offseason, man, should they really pay Dak 30-some-odd million? Really?
Well,
is that what we really? I think there's questions.
You know, they're going to look around and say, well, they're paying Carson Wentz that.
No, they're not.
Yeah, but I guarantee come on. They're going to say they paying Jared Goff that.
And
they're going to pay Mahomes. They're going to pay Mahomes
and they're gonna say,
$40 million.
Mahomes is worth it. They're going to say, don't make the same mistake that the Rams made with Goff.
Worth it. Last year, we don't know what happened. We don't know what's going to happen next year. I mean, I'm serious. I mean, it's about the going rate, and that's how it is in the NFL. It's about the going rate.
I get it, but y'all are acting like we're not living in the era of Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes, where these guys have so much respect inside their locker rooms. Look at the way Mark Ingram capes up for Lamar Jackson every chance he gets. That's the kind of
It's easy though when you're winning.
Winning.
You're having that
It
type of.
is easy when you're winning.
Take the winning. It's easy when the dude's out there carrying the franchise the way Lamar is
It's because
and the way
they're winning.
Mahomes
Yeah,
is.
Lamar was winning last year when he got in, and they went to the playoffs. But you didn't see them same interviews, did you? You know why? Because they were like, we on the bubble, we on the fence. When it's obvious we're winning, then you go out there and do what Mark Ingram does, who did the same thing for Alvin Kamara. If I'm Alvin Kamara, I'm mad at him because he used to do the same tag team interviews. Now he's doing it with Lamar Jackson. That's just who Mark Ingram is.
But y'all can't tell me that guys in that Baltimore locker room, guys in the Kansas City locker room have a respect and an affinity for their quarterbacks and a passion for their quarterbacks. New England has it with Tom Brady. New Orleans clearly has it with Drew Brees. Dak was flirting with that. And now I think that's gone away. That's not a possibility.
If that's the case, I guarantee you it's guys, you want to say whispering, in any locker room say, man,
Brady, 42, dog.
He should be, $30 million. I'm making 15. He making 30. He making double what I'm making. I mean, anybody can say that. Seriously. I mean, Zeke could say it. Zeke could say, I like Dak, but
thank you. I guarantee no matter what they pay Lamar Jackson, you won't hear anybody in Baltimore say a damn thing about it.
Like he just said, they're winning.
Not right now, but if this place slips.
Yeah, they go out there
slips.
be 7-9. Let them go 7-9.
Exactly.
All of a sudden we looking at it like, really?
The man is going to be MVP.
Yeah.
Again, once you cross that threshold, there's a level of respect. Look, it doesn't matter what Eric Dickerson says on this show. He's got a Hall of Fame jacket.
But you know what they'll say, Jason?
It doesn't matter. He got a Hall of Fame jacket.
What about Super Bowl championship?
Hey, you know what they'll
Russell
say?
Wilson got checked. After he won a championship, they still was coming at his head. So what gives you credit where you are just exempt from anybody checking you?
MVP.
This is what will happen.
Anybody.
Since he won that Super Bowl, since he won that MVP, he been trashed, man. I don't know what's going on with him since he got paid and he did this.
Boom.
That's how they'll spin it. Man, he has not been very good since he's done this or since he's done that.
Yeah.
That happens.
And if they're saying that about a guy that's won a Super Bowl, what the hell do you think they're saying about a guy that hasn't won a Super Bowl and in his money year
once Sunday is over
declined
with,
the second half of the
Jason,
season?
I don't know. Right now, if I'm Dak's teammate, I'm saying, man, they owe this dude.
Exactly.
I'm saying, I don't know if 30 is going to be the number, but that's what the marketplace says, so give him what he deserves. But, man, Dak's on he's on a fourth-round contract. He's made $2 million this year.
And a bunch of money in endorsements.
Okay,
They made $30 million.
And a bunch of money in endorsements.
We don't count that money. We count what the team owes you because you put in your sacrifice towards this team.
We've already heard Marshall Faulk say it on behalf of Ezekiel Elliott. They're going to give him that money. And
I said it too.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, they had to pay him.
No. Marshall
that,
Faulk
he
said about Dak.
Dak.
Oh, they won't pay Zeke, but they're going to pay Dak, and he's going to be trash. And again, the thought's already out there. And look, I'm not calling the guy trash, but I'm telling you, he went into this season with a lot of equity in that locker room. he's potentially exiting the season with a lot
What's
less.
your price tag for Dak a year?
Oh, 25. 25.
What you get
Man.
Mahomes?
What I'm getting.
What you get Mahomes?
This dude has almost
45,
1,000
50
yards
every
more than any other year.
Whitlock and Wiley, Doug Gottlieb is back. We're joined now by Fox College football analyst Matt Leinart. All right, let's move to this weekend's playoff, where we'll see matchups between huge programs and players, with Jalen Hurts in Oklahoma taking on Heisman winner Joe Burrow and LSU, while Trevor Lawrence and the defending champions Clemson face off against Chase Young and Ohio State. The playoff was supposed to solve all of college football's problems. Now Yahoo Sports says this year could be very problematic, with a 16-day layoff between the semifinal and the national title game that could diminish interest. Listen, I'm a huge college football fan. I don't like the playoffs. I'd never liked the playoffs. I had to remind myself this morning that the playoff games were even this Saturday. I want to throw out the question, has the college football playoff been a success?
I think it's been a tremendous success, especially during the regular season. You pay attention more. Right. When you see the losses in the regular season, whatever that may be, an Alabama game, you know where to apply that in terms of the college football playoff structure. Before those losses, it was too vague. Which bowl are they going to go to now? So you wouldn't even feel the same
How
impact.
would it affect the rankings?
Yeah, rankings, yeah, but the rankings wasn't always directly correlated to the bowl structure. But now you have that. And more importantly, here's the best example. This year, there are 3 teams that are 13-0, undefeated. So in your system, guess what would have happened? One of those teams, Clemson, the defending national champions with Trevor Lawrence, would not have been in the national championship game.
Are you a BCS guy? You like
I didn't like any of it. I liked the bowl system.
Right.
College football was perfectly fine. The most powerful regular season in all of sports. It didn't need all these these teams playing 14, 15 games.
Starting game 4, it was powerful.
And here we are, 24 hours before the playoffs, and there's no real buzz and hype around it. I just don't think it's been a success.
I think the playoff, I played in the BCS era. We won BCS championships. We also got left out of the BCS in 2003. We ended up sharing a title with LSU, but the BCS left us out. I think I've always been a fan of college football, and the more the merrier, and the more opportunity. And the playoff has given more teams opportunity to get in. And I know the SEC has been very dominant. I get that. The Pac-12 has been left out the last couple of years, but it at least opens the door for all of these conferences to have a seat at the dance. And then what happens, you got to go out and take care of business. And I think to this year especially, the storylines, and I just disagree. I think the storylines, you have a Heisman winner, you have Fields, Hurts, you have all the Heisman finalists playing in these games. You have a defending national champ who no one's respecting, that I think, and Doug and I talked about earlier, I think they might be the best team in college football. You have Ohio State, who's loaded. I mean, it's a fun matchup. And then you talk about the layoff. I think this year the scheduling and the calendar year it was kind of a quirky year that there's a 16-day. The NFL does the same thing. I mean, NFL and college are different, but the conference championship game to the Super Bowl is 14 days. And we don't complain about the layoff and that. So I think the buzz is real. I think these teams are phenomenal, and I think the storylines and the players, I think it's awesome.
Some of the flaws in it are within its control. Some of it are without its control.
Right.
Half the country, with SC not being any good, half the country doesn't care. Right? You can't make people in the West Coast care about Clemson and Alabama and schools in the Southeast. It becomes very, very regional. So that's out of their control. Not having a set date. College football used to be January 1st.
Right.
And you'd sit down and you wouldn't move.
Yep.
And we lost that. They gave it away. They said, it's okay. We'll give it away so we can create a real national champion instead of a fictional. And that was the big mistake that they made.
Well,
I don't actually think that the system itself, the system is flawed, right? Because it used to have the most powerful regular season. Now it kind of does and it kind of doesn't. You win your conference, you might have a chance, but you might not. It depends on what conference you win.
Well, that's why I think we should expand. I always think there's expansion,
okay,
which I know a lot of.
No, but there's flaws to that too,
There's
right?
flaws in any system.
Agreed.
That's why they shouldn't have left it alone. It was perfectly fine.
No, you guys.
Or just do a +1, right? Just add one game. At the end, hey, we need one more game. We'll have one more game. Instead, we have like the seeds leading up that show. That's a waste of time. Nobody cares.
Right?
All that stuff. But they had the 1st of January. The 1st of January is college
But
football.
you know why they don't
And
have it? It's not so much they gave it up, is the Rose Bowl got extended with ESPN, which was supposed to be about the greater structure, but then that turned into the Rose Bowl having, as they say, separate initiatives. Now, some people within the structure of college football playoffs saying the Rose Bowl's in the way, but they have their deal. The Sugar Bowl has their deal, and they're saying, look, if you don't give us the semifinal games, then we're going to have some issues. So the Rose Bowl extended it into the mid-2020s.
Because they've done it for 100 years.
Right, but they also got away from it early 2000s when they start. Michigan and Nebraska was the first game, like Miami, Nebraska. That's when the Rose Bowl started to do so. It's boring, the details, but basically it's complicated within. But this is all going to iron itself out. But right now, I'm excited. 3 transfers are playing in the college football playoffs. We're Heisman finalists. This is great.
The playoffs averaged 25 million viewers last year. That was like the 3rd or 4th highest show behind NFL playoffs. The college football playoff, the title game has averaged 29 million viewers in the last 3 or 4 years. People watch. People like it.
No, that's not the question. The question wasn't do people watch, because people would watch and people would like it if you had the bowl system as well, especially when you had the right bowl match.
You played in the highest
you played the highest ranked game. That was in the BCS. That was rated higher. So
I like the playoff system because it gives more teams opportunity to win.
Does it?
It does, absolutely.
I mean,
They just keep coming out of the SEC, but it gives more opportunity.
Who's won the national championship last year? ACC, Clemson.
But let's
Alabama's not even in the
and Florida State's won it as well. But
yeah.
let's also point out the number 1 seed hasn't won it. Now, maybe that means they're overrated, but also
that's why I think it's great. You never know. And I think this year, to Marcellus's point, I'm telling you, these top 4 teams.
Y'all don't even remember.
It is amazing, though, right? Like, he's old enough to remember, but you played it.
I played it.
You didn't really split a national championship.
No, but I won a title. 04, we won a
You want co-champions again?
No.
You want to go back to co-champions?
No, but that one you weren't really co-champions, were you?
Co-champions? Both teams celebrated.
We were AP national champions.
No.
You have a ring for the AP?
I do.
Okay.
I got a ring and a trophy.
I'm just telling y'all,
I don't like it.
college football was unique from the NFL. And the more they try to, let's do a playoff and make it like the NFL, the more it diminishes
They're not
itself.
trying to make it like the NFL.
Well, I don't care. They're trying to do it like everybody else.
Basketball. That's
well,
what
like
they're
everybody.
trying to do.
And college basketball, regular season is a joke and has been destroyed.
Correct.
And now the NCAA tournament ain't what it used to be either. So this whole little, you got to have a playoff for sports to be special and blah, blah. No, college football, other than the NFL, was the greatest thing going. It's regular season. I'm going all the way back to Archie Griffin and O.J. Simpson.
I wasn't even born.
It was awesome. And so what? That Joe Paterno cried because his team didn't get ranked number 1. That was awesome too. Arguing about who got robbed and who should have been number 1, and all this stuff of like, we need a playoff and it's gonna make it so magical. It hasn't materialized. You know what's bigger than those games Saturday? Antonio Brown working out for the Saints. It gets smothered by the damn NFL.
It does get smothered by the NFL.
There's more interest in the NFL's Week 17 and their playoffs, and they should be playing on January 1.
I agree.
And we'd all be sitting around talking about how great college football is.
That's the hurdle.
Listen, when Archie Griffin played, man, they didn't have social media. They didn't have every dang thing, being covered by the media. So it's a different world we live in. So.
Yeah, and you know what social media does? It distorts the truth. And so you're right. The truth of how great those Ohio State teams were with Archie Griffin didn't get distorted by social media and make everybody convinced that, oh, my God, if he doesn't play Alabama, how can we respect
They
what
played
Archie
the
Griffin
milkman.
did?
They had the milkman out there with their accountants. No lineman out my face.
I think the good is that teams are scheduling up more in the non-conference more than they used to.
Have
right?
to.
You have to in order to get respect, okay?
Right.
Yep. The bad is that it does diminish the value. Ohio State sneaking its way in a couple years ago with a third-string quarterback end up winning a national championship as opposed to teams that do it the entire year don't lose a game. But I think the big thing is giving away the 1st of January was a colossal mistake.
Yep.
And if you want to remedy things, forget adding teams, subtracting teams. Dominate that day because that's the day which we all go, January 1st, college football. That's it.
Eric Dickerson and TJ Houshmandzadeh are back. Time now for Darnell's question of the day. All right, take it away, homeboy.
Yes, sir. Let's move to Green Bay. where Aaron Rodgers has had the Packers rolling this year, even though his stats aren't exactly what we're used to seeing. But yesterday, Rodgers was asked if he cared about the drop-off and had an interesting response. Take a listen.
I definitely care. But I think the level of success and the way that I feel I'm playing is different in this offense this year. I don't need to throw 40 touchdowns for us to win. You know, I need to be great on my checks. I need to be as efficient as possible. I need to take care of the football. I mean, any quarterback wants to throw 4 or 5 touchdowns a week. It's just not, that hasn't been the case this year. We haven't needed it to win 12 games.
All right, guys, I want to ask you, do you believe Rodgers is unconcerned with his stats?
Well, I think he stated first, yeah, I care, but I do believe he understands and is in a good place and understands that he needs to win more Super Bowls more than he needs more MVPs or leading the league in touchdown passes. If he wants to get in the conversation as one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time and even get past Brett Favre, he needs to win another Super Bowl.
Yeah, agree with you there. Look, I'm going to borrow something from Kobe Bryant, the Mamba mentality. That is, the only thing greater than winning is being the reason why we're winning. And every athlete I've ever met, including myself, you have fewer beers after the game if you didn't contribute to that overall team success. And there's no guarantee in team success, so we always bet on ourselves. Like, you can have amazing games and the team loses, and that's not a win-win, but also going out there being less than you can and the team wins, it's still not a one-win because you don't trust that. So most players I know want to be absolved of blame and guilt. So I'm going to make sure my numbers are right so you never shine a light on my performance. If Aaron Rodgers continues this way, there's a chance he becomes Peyton Manning in that second Super Bowl championship where everyone side-eyes that second ring for Peyton Manning because it's like, that wasn't because of you. So he's caught up in that contradiction of, yeah, I believe that this is good for the team, but is it great for Aaron Rodgers? Not a win-win.
Every athlete that plays is concerned with their stats. Now, when you win, you're not as concerned, but you look, oh, man, I ain't do that much this game. Everybody is – I played with one guy, and it shocked me. I played with Nate Burleson. He was the only receiver that I ever played with that he literally said in a meeting, I don't care if I get the ball thrown to me. And I was like, huh? Nate Burleson didn't care.
He knew he was going to get that TV job, huh?
I was shocked. We were in a meeting one day, and me and Deion Branch were like, we got to get the ball, coach. And Nate was like, I ain't tripping if I don't get the ball thrown to me. And I was like, oh, okay, well, let me get his ball thrown. And so we're all concerned. Right. Yeah. We're all concerned with our stats. But when you win and the type of success the team is having this year, you overlook them. And that's just what it is.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're 12-3, but think about his name hasn't been mentioned for the MVP, really. And he said it best. Yeah, of course he wants to have 4 or 5. I mean, what player doesn't want to be that guy? You want to say Aaron Rodgers won the game for us. I mean, that's ego. That's ego. That's for any player, especially any great player. And Aaron always had that kind of chip on his shoulder. So you know, if they're winning, but still he would like for it to be like, we need you, Aaron. We need you.
I'm going to say this, though, TJ. What I think might be different about Aaron Rodgers and just the quarterback position and where he's at, his money won't be impacted in terms of, trust me, whenever it's up and whenever it's time to renegotiate, he's going to get a monster payday. A receiver, somebody like that, his numbers slip. The next thing you know, they sitting across from him telling him, we finna back this. Boop, beep, beep, beep. And they have no interest in that. And you know what, the thing I found interesting about your Nate Burleson comment is I thought about the Baltimore Ravens. And there's a kid from our school, Ball State, Willie Snead, that's a top player there. Yeah. And I look at all their receivers, and they're all getting less, but seem to embrace what they're doing. And I know it's because of the winning and the Super Bowl, but they seem to have embraced it.
But there's a cause and effect. And what's happening is we're letting the results tell us how these players should feel or may feel. But the reality is there's no guarantee you have that success, Willie Snead. Oh, I don't get the ball, then we're going to win. But since you're winning, you suppress that for the moment. But let's just be real. In that moment, how do you really feel? I know for a fact, when we would win games and I ain't do anything, 0 sacks, I wasn't as pumped as everybody else was. I put the smile on. But the games when we lost and I had a couple,
I did my part.
I put my head down and I'm like, well, I'm over here smiling a little bit. I'm all right now. This is going to turn into something. So in the moment, Aaron Rodgers can't feel great about this. When he had 422 yards in week 4, that was the only time his name was inserted in the MVP conversation. Since then, no one's been speaking of him in those terms. That has to hurt.
Well, think about it. They talk about Lamar Jackson. They talk about Mahomes. They talk about Deshaun Watson. But Aaron,
none of them get paid with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, and I said Aaron Rodgers bought a $28 million home in Malibu, so it ain't hurting him. But still, you want your name mentioned because I thought at one point he's the greatest quarterback I'd seen in a long time because I'll tell you a quick story. Matter of fact, it was a guy that played, he was at Minnesota, at Green Bay, when Aaron and Brett Favre was there. And I said, what are y'all going to do with Brett? Because Brett's about to retire. He said, Eric, I'm going to tell you this, I'm going to say his name twice. He said, Aaron Rodgers. I said, who is that? He said, from Cal. He said, he's the most accurate quarterback I've ever seen. He going to win Super Bowls. I said, I don't believe it. So when I see him play now, I keep thinking about Aaron Rodgers. So
now, did he say he's going to win Super Bowl?
He said Super
or
Bowl.
Bowls?
He said Super
Plural.
Bowl. He said
Z.
Super Bowl. Super Bowl.
You know what else,
Better
though?
holler at him.
When you're 36 years old, it's easier to have this I'm unconcerned because you've built it up. You've made the money. You've had great seasons. You get to 36 years old, it's like, okay, I am slightly unconcerned with. I would like them to be better, but I've proven that I can play in this league.
It's the NBA man, journeyman, great, former great, that's ring chasing now. He's just like, look, let me just stay here, play within the system, stay within my skin.
Individually, I've proven myself.
Eric Dickerson and TJ Houshmandzadeh are back. Let's move to Seattle, where the Seahawks host the 49ers Sunday in a matchup with huge implications for the NFC playoff picture. According to Fox Bet, the Niners are favored by 3.5, but Seattle just brought in Marshawn Lynch, and Russell Wilson sounds very excited to have beast mode back.
He looks great. He looks explosive. Looks fast. Looks strong. Quick as ever. You know, he always has this infamous, one leg cut that he can do, just where he hops on one foot twice. You know, he's got some special things that he can do. He runs the ball hard. Obviously. Once game time comes, it's not about the show and everything else. It's about the game time, and he'll be definitely ready to do that for sure.
When I think of overrated comebacks, this tops my list. Is Marshawn Lynch going to help the Seahawks on Sunday?
Yep, sure is. The energy, that's already going to help. Look, teams either get better or get worse. You don't stay the same. So in the situation, is he going to hurt them? Absolutely not. He's going to help them. They need him. He's going to provide that stability, that focus, that determination, as he says, unfinished business. And Marshawn Lynch is not a guy that has to hit home runs. He just needs to move the chains with a message, be a tone setter. Every time I took the field after the coin flip, coach was like, if the kickoff return, whatever it is, set the tone. And Marshawn Lynch going for 5 yards and the head rolling is setting the tone for this offense so they can have the play action. They can set up the passing game. So, yeah, he's going to help.
Nah, he's not going to help.
Oh, don't do him, TJ.
He's going to give an energy and that adrenaline. But once that wears off, you got to play football. Now, the definition of help, if he converts a couple of third ones, he should be able to. Is that helping? Or if it's first and goal on a 1 yard line, he scores a touchdown, is that really helping?
Yeah.
Now,
that counts.
The 49ers have so much to play for.
They did last week, too.
They win this game, they get home field advantage. Yeah. And so everything that they want is right in front of them.
Yep.
I don't see no way going against that defense. Man, he ain't played football since week 6 of last year.
That means he's fresh. Fresh. He's been doing two-a-days with his martial artist, his instructor. Marshawn Lynch, knowing him personally, he does not take an opportunity that he doesn't think he's going to shine in. You think Marshawn Lynch is going to come off the shelf just to say, I'm going to be
we all think we going to shine until you realize that light ain't bright.
But he looked good before injury with Oakland. He looked better than he did at the last part of
We got a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, what's up, running back?
Hey, I'm with you. I think, for all the hype, coming back, I think that's going to be great. And I think it'll last for a while. But one thing is, they got to hit your ass out there. And he ain't been hit in a while. I mean, that's what it comes down to. They're going to hit him, and I think that he'll be like the 3rd and 1, 3rd and inch. But if he breaks the 5 or 6 yard line and run 10 yards, that's going to be great for the crowd. I believe that part of it. But is he going to be a game changer? That's what I'm thinking. A game changer? No. He knows the offense, which that helps him. And that's a help right there because I don't have to come bring a young guy and teach him the offense. He already knows it. So
all I'm defining help by is 40 rushing yards.
40 yards? If he would get 40 yards?
Yeah, that's what I define help.
All right. If he gets 15, if he gets 15 carries, he'll get 40 yards.
15.
Ezekiel Elliott against the Rams.
I'm not calling that. He got to get 40 yards and average 4 yards a carry.
Yes, over. I'll take the over by far. What?
They run the ball.
Are you kidding me?
He's coming off the shelf, Marcel.
That's called fresh legs, baby.
Man, wait a minute. You can't get in football shape not doing football things.
I don't need to be in football shape.
You ever play running back?
Yeah, actually, I did. I played 2 ways. In college. I wasn't no low-level running back. Top 5 Pop Warner. Not at that level. Top 5 Pop Warner. And I played it in college. Don't sleep on your boy. It ain't about Sunday. It's Monday. Y'all talking about Monday, how he's going to feel on that. He's going to give you 40 yards. I put everything on that.
He had to practice yesterday.
Yeah.
How do you feel after practice when you got to really cut and run?
First of all, he has muscle memory. Let's all respect that. It's easier for us to get back in shape than the average Joe. So respect that he has
football shape.
Football shape is going to take its toll, not so much in the moment, but after the recovery. We all know that.
So understand, being a running back, you got to run, you got to get hit, you got to pull, you got to push. All of a sudden, the muscle man, hey, hold, dog. I ain't used to that.
You don't know his training regimen, do you?
I don't care what it is.
I'm telling you, Marshawn Lynch, who's been very durable, physical running back, has done his double days with his instructor, which includes the heavy bags going to the torso straight up raw. But if you watched him perform in practice...
Do they tackle him in that? Do they tackle him and slam him to the ground like 3-4 guys?
CBA said you can't do all that. I'm betting over. Anybody else betting the over 40 yards?
I'm taking the under, and I think he's going to fumble.
Ooh.
He ain't playing in 18 months,
I'm gonna go with you. I think it's 40 yards.
I got a Hall of Famer with me now.
I think it's 40 yards.
Nah, he's not getting 40. And if he get 15 carries, he'll get 40 yards.
There you go.
Anything
they're going to
under
give
15,
up on him
he not
after
getting 40
about
yards.
6 carries, and he's black mouse.
That excitement that he's going to have is going to wear him out. I'm telling you.
He's not a rookie.
It doesn't
he never
matter.
Was. He act like Marshawn Lynch never played football.
Well, he got hurt anyway.
You don't think he's excited about coming back?
Yes. And I know he's
that adrenaline. He's going to have to calm himself down. And you playing against the 49ers.
I'm going to tell you what's tripping me out. They acted like Michael Jordan's coming back. Like he's coming back to the Washington Wizards.
Like Eric Dickerson is coming back at 33.
Look at me. Take my jacket. Take my jacket.
Hell no. He was never. I mean, look, he's a hell of a player. But we ain't talking about the greats of the greats coming back. This is a guy that has an interesting off-the-field lifestyle that I don't think is conducive with an 18-month layoff and then come in and basically play in a playoff game, basically.
Yeah.
This is a play. And as y'all all know, y'all played in the playoffs at least once or twice. It's a different level of intensity at this time with this level of importance. And they bringing a dude in off the streets on some reminiscing.
Do they have the drug test?
If he does call a drug test, it don't matter.
They get a pass.
The season will be over.
Well, we'll test you the next week.
I don't know, man. Marshawn Lynch. Y'all forget how he looked in Oakland before the injury. He was averaging 4.2 yards a carry, so he's not under 4 yards a carry, which is the danger zone. I think if you commit to the running game, you have to, because Russell Wilson has been sliding of late in terms of his numbers and success because of the lack of running game and the injuries. I think they're going to commit.
I got 2 predictions. A fumble and then a blown assignment in pass protection that gets Russell Wilson popped. Those are my
Sierra out the stands.
That's my 2 predictions. All right, Darnell, is there a Super 6 this weekend?
Yes, sir, there is. And before games kick off on Sunday, be sure to download the Fox Sports Super 6 app and play for free for your chance to win Terry Bradshaw's $250,000. 49ers and Seahawks is one of the games on Sunday, so let's make our fans some money. Give us a winner and a score.
I like the 49ers. Their defense is going to rally and play well. Marshawn Lynch is going to be a bust. So I'm going to say 49ers 24-17.
Close to my score, 24-18, but for Seattle, Russell Wilson's never lost to the 49ers at home, and he still hasn't.
Seahawks are averaging 18 points a game over the last 3, so I'm going to go 49ers. They're not going to get 18, but they'll get 17. 28-17, 49ers.
27-24, Seahawks.
Let's move to Atlanta, where the Falcons are disappointed this year at 6-9, but have decided to bring back head coach Dan Quinn for another season anyway. After starting 1-7, Atlanta has finished the season strong, going 5-2 down the stretch, which apparently has been good enough to earn Quinn a stay of execution. Falcons have announced they're keeping him. I don't like this decision.
You don't?
2 straight years without the playoffs. I don't get it. Falcons making a mistake here.
No, I don't think so. I think they found the winning formula, something that could click. Even the owner goes out there, Arthur Blank, and says, same players, same energy, same motivation, but we put them in better positions to win. One of them, Raheem Morris, is going to obviously be the defensive coordinator going forward, who was splitting play calling duty this year. He was coaching the receivers. Like, come on, man. If you know Raheem Morris, you know that you need to put him on the defensive side of the ball. So they make that switch at the bye week. They go 5-2. He's sharing play calling duty. Now you're going to put him full time in that position. That's just one of the things that they've made in terms of internal structure that's going to lend itself to them winning.
They making a mistake. And the reason I say that is, why would you have a defensive guy, number one, coaching offense? And then the defense flips a switch and starts playing better when Raheem Morris and Jeff Ulbrich starts calling the defense. They're the best. One of those two should be the head coach. One of those two should be the head coach, because if you're a defensive coach and you're Dan Quinn, why is the defense giving up 31 points per game when you're calling the defense, and then as soon as you give it up to Raheem Morris and Jeff Ulbrich, they get better? The best coach on that staff is either Raheem Morris or Jeff Ulbrich. They're making a huge mistake.
I'm just going to admit my bias. I didn't like the way they walked away from Brian Cox on their coaching staff a few years ago. I'm a Brian Cox fan. I'm not sure if Dan Quinn knows how to consistently motivate players from the head coach position. That is a skill. And when I watch Atlanta, I've always felt like there's a lot of talent here. They got Julio Jones, who I think arguably is maybe the most talented player in the NFL. I don't see them maxing out his production. I've seen Matt Ryan take a step back. I see them, until these last few weeks, there was a lifelessness to their defense. And why would it take them this much time to figure out that Raheem Morris should be the defensive coordinator? Again, given his background, you got him coaching receivers. I'm not sure if Dan Quinn truly knows how to manage a coaching staff and a football team. And it's like TJ said in the commercial break when we were prepping for this segment, a lot of times if you're a coordinator on a winning team, everybody just makes the assumption, oh, my God, you must be ready. And it takes some real due diligence to figure out who really is pulling the strings on an offensive, defensive unit, how much involvement the head coach has, how much credit the coordinators deserve. I just think they made this decision because at the moment, they can't think of what to do better.
Well, I look at it differently, even though I respect what you said. Here's the summary I come up with. Raheem Morris is 17-31 as a head coach at Tampa Bay. So you're not so sure if he's a head coach in this league. But you know he's a tremendous defensive mind. But our head coach is calling defense. So therefore, we got to put you on the other side just to not create that friction. But then bye week comes, Arthur Blank comes out, everyone's being reassessed. Dan Quinn, he swallows his ego. He actually says, you know what's best for this team and for me to survive is to put him in that position to succeed. So maybe Raheem Morris is better when he's fully focused, like a Wade Phillips, some say, as a D coordinator, and Dan Quinn could just be the overseer of all responsibilities as a head coach and get fully motivated in that role. To me, that's the only formula I can see that works.
That could be very true. But when you're 1-7, what other choice do you have? Like,
True.
Raheem and Jeff, y'all go ahead and take this because we have nowhere to go but up. We're already at the bottom. And so Raheem Morris, he was very young when he got that head coaching job with the Bucs. And so
33.
He's learned from that.
Yeah.
And to me, he's doing the motivating on that defense that Dan Quinn should be doing. And so Raheem, those guys, Jeff Ulbrich, a former player, played linebacker, those guys are motivating that defense, and that's Dan Quinn's job.
But you just said if you play coordinator, it shouldn't automatically make you a head coach. So why not stop Raheem right there? You be the coordinator. They're averaging only 18 points a game, 7th in the league since you took over shared play calling abilities. Stay there. Why promote him all the way to head coach and let Dan Quinn do it?
Well, I'll say this. Dan Quinn now, at one point, was carried by Kyle Shanahan as the offensive coordinator. He leaves, the offense backs up. Now he's getting carried by Raheem Morris on the defensive side. At some point, the head coach got to carry his water as well. Yeah. I'd move on, but they're not. Uncle Jimmy's here to help us talk about our approval ratings for Sean Payton. All right, but first, go ahead and give Marcellus Big Dummy of the Day.
For real on a Friday?
Go ahead.
Man, Big Dummy of the Day go to the person that made an impersonation of Marshawn Lynch after run number 6. Wasn't that what you was doing on Thanksgiving when you swallowed that dumpling? Come on, man, that wasn't funny.
All right, let's talk Sean Payton. Who Saints brought Antonio Brown in for a workout today. The Saints still have a shot to win the NFC's top seed and are clearly looking to avenge their NFC championship loss last year. Marcellus, you think New Orleans needs AB to win a Super Bowl?
Ooh, need is strong, so I would say no to need. But, man, if you put them on the opposite side of Michael Thomas, no doubling on both of those guys, and that machine of Drew Brees out there throwing on the football, that would be amazing, especially for the confidence walking into the playoffs. But need? No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I think they need him to win a Super Bowl. I do think the Saints are the best team in the NFC. I got to tip my hat to Sean Payton and Drew Brees for that. But if they face Baltimore in the Super Bowl, you got to have AB.
Yeah,
Michael Thomas, not enough. You're going to need an extra element to get past Baltimore and Lamar Jackson. All right, Uncle Jimmy, you have a take on Sean Payton and his flirtation with Antonio Brown?
Once again, you come up here running your mouth, jiggling your jaws, swearing you're talking about something, and you don't know nothing at all. Let me tell you something.
What?
The NFL treated the city of New Orleans like Dookie. Now they stuck on stupid and they old like Pookie. Let me tell you something. The NFL owes the city of New Orleans reparations.
Oh, boy. Entitlement, huh?
They owe them to them in a debt of biblical prostitutions.
What?
Let me let y'all in a little secret nobody want to talk about. The NFL been down there in the bayous for years doing their little white magic, casting their little hexes all over the New Orleans and the Saints. Why you think the refs didn't see that pass interference last year? They was blinded by that little white light. See, that's what that white magic do to you. Tell them, nephew, you know what that white magic do to you.
How do I know?
See, but this mess didn't start last year.
Yeah.
This been going on for decades. You understand? Y'all remember the Super Bowl? Remember after Bouncer got done singing at the Super Bowl?
Bouncer.
She hit him with that little Illuminati sign. Ha! Lights went out. Now, I know what you said, nephew. That's what happened when black folks don't pay the bill. That wasn't it. That was the NFL jinx. What about when Sean Payton got fired in there with Bootygate?
Bountygate.
Yeah, that's where everybody in New Orleans got upset. They know trickery when they see it. And don't even get me started about Hurricane Katrina. You ask anybody in New Orleans about FEMA, they'll tell you what FEMA stand for. Fix everything, my ass. Now, I know the world blamed Mother Nature for that hurricane, but we know who was responsible for it.
Who?
Okay, look, bottom line, case closed is this. Look here, I know what y'all thinking. Look here, the city of New Orleans sent me here to tell y'all. Give them one more Super Bowl. Give them one more Super Bowl, and they're willing to wipe the slate clean. Now, I know one more thing. You thinking that if they sign Antonio Brown, our people ain't gonna accept him. Because he got too much drama and he burnt up his feet when he was in Kansas City. But let me ask y'all a question. Did we not accept the human matchstick Richard Pryor after he set himself on fire? That's what we do. We'll accept AB too. I should lick him.
All right, whatever that meant.
Who are you?
Sean Payton's approval rating for me actually goes up from a 65 to a 72. 24 almost perfect job performance. He's doing a hell of a job. I can't knock him.
Great job.
The Saints are, to me, the best team in the NFC. I knock him 1 point all-time greatness for too much whining, dropping 3 points in character for too much whining, move him up in authenticity.
Not as great because he called out the truth that Y'all should have called that
The
PI.
truth shall set you free.
Yeah, I got him at 87. He GOAT, man. It's one of the best coaches in the
A
game.
lie will get you
One of the
dead.
best coaches in the game.
That's
He get
free.
another Super Bowl. Ooh, everyone's gonna say.
Ooh, dumpster fire one on the internet. They agree with me. They marked him down.